Hey everyone, ZIM Integrated Shipping has experienced its fair share of boom times and bust times in the last 3 years. First, the company benefited as people were staying home, buying more things, and that benefited shippers like ZIM Integrated Shipping. Then in 2023, as people started spending more money away from home on services, that caused a decline in ZIM's business. So in this video, I'm going to look at 2024 and I'm going to answer where I think ZIM stock could be at the end of 2024. So let's jump right into it.
I want to thank the Motley Fool for sponsoring this video. Visit fool.com/Parkev for the 10 best stocks to buy now.
Of course, we can't talk about ZIM Integrated Shipping stock without looking at the recent events in the attacks in the Red Sea. So ship operators are now quoting higher freight rates to offset these higher costs from the attacks. World Container Index increased 9% to 1661 per 40-foot container. And according to CNBC Logistics, Thursday's quoted ocean freight was $10,000 per 40-foot container from Shanghai to the UK, nearly 4 times higher than the $2,400 per rate before. So these attacks, these disruptions are causing an increase in freight rates, which is ultimately both good and bad for ZIM. It's bad because the companies had to reroute a lot of shipments, telling its clients it's going to take longer. But then the flip side is that rates are increasing again, and that could be good news for ZIM. Looking at 2023 and the 9 months that ended 2023, the company's carried volume decreased by 2% in the 9 months as of the most recent update. The freight rate decreased by 66%, and so that caused an overall decline of 62% for ZIM's revenue year over year in the first 9 months of 2023 compared to that same 9 month period in 2022. So I mentioned it's been boom and bust times for ZIM. Thankfully, the company smartly managed the boom times and it saved the cash. And so it's not in any difficulty financially, even though these rates have decreased. In fact, the company generated $791 million in free cash flow in the 9 months that ended 2023. And that is good news that even in these difficult circumstances, ZIM generated significant revenue. So looking forward, the estimates I'm going to use for ZIM in 2024 is the consensus analyst estimate for revenue. Analysts expect ZIM to deliver 4.89 billion in revenue in 2024. They also currently say that ZIM is trading at a price to sales of 0.193. So I'm going to use those numbers in my estimate for next year's valuation. I'm also going to use the company's average shares outstanding. The number of shares outstanding is an important financial metric. If a company issues more stock because it is running out of money or it wants to invest in a new growth project, it has the potential to decrease your earnings per share. Look up here, when I have a net income of 1,000 and shares outstanding of 100, my earnings per share is 10. You take the net income divided by shares outstanding and you get 10. But now let's say you increase your shares outstanding to 200 and you have the same net income of 1,000. Now your earnings per share is just 5. The same is true in the opposite direction. If a company is losing money on the bottom line and it issues more shares, it spreads out the losses across more shares, thereby reducing the loss per share, which is a tricky way to reduce the loss per share. Look at this point here. A net loss of 1,000 with 100 shares outstanding creates a loss per share of 10. But if you take that same net loss of 1,000 and you spread it across more shares, 200 shares, you now have a net loss per share of just 5. So it's a tricky accounting trick to get your losses reduced on earnings per share. So you want to take a closer look to see where the improvement in the loss per share is coming from. That being said, you can see ZIM has increased shares outstanding, but not by all that much, going public and then having 120 million shares outstanding, up from around 115 million. And given that the company is generating positive cash flow, positive free cash flow, even in the difficult circumstances, I don't expect ZIM to dilute shareholders anymore. And that's an assumption I'm going to use in my valuation. So if we look at the 2024 estimate of 4.89 billion in revenue, and we divide it by the 120 million shares outstanding that we saw earlier, we get a sales per share of $40.68 for ZIM Integrated Shipping. That's the number I'm going to use as a baseline for where I think its revenue could be in 2024. Of course, analysts could be wrong on the upside and wrong on the downside. We don't know anything about what's going to happen in the future. We don't know for certain, I should say, what's going to happen in the future. But this is the best estimate of all of the analysts on Wall Street that are following ZIM stock. So it's a reasonably good estimate to use. Also, I'm going to assume that ZIM's price to sales ratio remains the same at 0.193 in the base case scenario. And according to that, the stock price could rise to $7.85 in 2024. That would be down, actually. Did I have that right? Yeah, that would be down from $9.87 it's currently trading at as of this recording. So if everything stays the same and it delivers the revenue that it is projected to deliver and the price to sales remains the same, the valuation would decrease. Now, if the company does deliver this revenue for 2024 and the market outlook is more balanced, its valuation could increase to 0.3, which would raise the stock price to $12.20. That would be an increase from the $9.87 it's currently trading at. If it improves meaningfully, it could rise to 0.5, and that could increase the stock price to $20. And if it falls to 0.1 from 0.193, the valuation could fall to $4.07, down from $9.87. So that would be a disaster scenario for ZIM integrated investors. Now, if you were to ask me where I think ZIM stock price will be in 2024, I would estimate the stock price will be somewhere between $10 per share and $12 per share. I think if things progress as it's expected to progress, by the end of 2024, consumer spending will be more balanced between goods and services, and ultimately that will be good news for ZIM. It'll go back to normal pre-pandemic level consumer spending behavior towards the end of the year. I would say towards the last 3 months of the year. So if my assumption on consumer spending is correct and these estimates are correct, I think ZIM stock price could be anywhere between $10 and $12 per share. Now remember, I used a lot of estimates and assumptions in this calculation. Nothing is for certain. These are just estimates and best guesses that I can make based on the numbers that I have available to me according to ZIM Integrated Shipping. Hopefully, it comes in on the higher end of that estimate, and ZIM stock investors experience a nice gain for 2024. Thank you for watching this video. I truly appreciate it. I know there's a lot you could be doing with your time and a lot of other videos you could be watching. So I truly appreciate that you chose to watch this one. If you want to see more videos just like this, hit the subscribe or the like button. They'll both help me make more videos just like this one. Thank you again.